Imagine a courtroom floating in the void of space, but not just any courtroom. This one exists simultaneously in the past, present, and future. The ceiling is made of memories that haven't happened yet. The floor? Recycled regrets. Every wall echoes with paradoxes. And in the middle of it all, a judge with 12 eyes, wearing a powdered wig made entirely of Schrodinger's cats, slams a gavel made of frozen time and declares, "Let the temporal hearing of Case Infinity 42 commence." Welcome to the Intergalactic Time Travel Court. This is where the galaxy's smartest civilizations come together to make sure no one messes with time. Not even a little. No hopping back 5 minutes to win an argument. No going forward to see who wins the Space Olympics. And absolutely no sneezing in the past. That one time led to the Great Chicken Coop of 40,021. Nobody talks about it. Too many feathers. So yeah, things are very serious here. Until Earth joins the Galactic Alliance and sends Todd from Milwaukee. Now, the Galactic Council expected Earth's ambassador to be, a seasoned diplomat, someone wise, someone composed, someone who doesn't microwave fish in the office. Instead, they got Todd, who once accidentally proposed to a vending machine after 3 margaritas and a dare. Todd, who wore cargo shorts to his own sister's wedding and gave a toast entirely in pirate voice. Todd, who, for some reason, was chosen as Earth's first temporal representative. And as he floated into the court, wearing a NASA hoodie, holding a can of soda, and chewing bubblegum so loud it echoed into the 15th century, the entire galaxy held its breath. All 12 judges, uploaded minds of ancient philosophers long extinct, turned to examine the human. He gave them finger guns. "Yo, I brought snacks." There was a pause, a long one, the kind of silence where even the laws of physics stopped to side-eye the situation. The lead judge, a massive being made entirely of swirling equations and caffeine, slowly leaned forward. "State your credentials." Todd pulled something from his backpack, a kazoo, and smiled. "I call this Despacito, but backward." "Objection," shrieked a lawyer slug from the Chrono Trench Nebula. "That melody is known to ripple causality." Todd shrugged. "It's either this or the Macarena." The judges panicked. One tried to teleport away, but got stuck in 1987. Another started speaking Shakespearean Elvish. The sentient hourglass in the corner began hyperventilating through its sand. Todd raised the kazoo to his lips. He played. Oh, how he played. A single off-key weep echoed through time. And then, everything broke. One by one, the courtroom's decor shifted violently. The flag of the council morphed into a promotional banner for Fast and Furious 17, Furious in Florence. The floor turned into birthday cake from 1983. A velociraptor in a judge's robe screamed, slapped the bailiff with a tail, then vanished in a puff of glitter. You've reversed the arrow of time," one of the judges cried, their 12 eyes spinning like slot machines. "Tuesday is now arriving before Monday." "Cool," Todd said, blowing another kazoo note and accidentally turning the prosecutor into a teenage version of himself. From under the bench, someone whispered, "This is it. This is how time dies." A siren blared. Temporal code read, "Do not panic. Panicking is futile, except for today. Panic immediately." Lights flickered. History began remixing. The Age of Enlightenment now featured EDM. Julius Caesar was caught doing TikToks in the Senate. The moon suddenly declared independence and opened a brunch cafe. And Todd sipped his soda and asked, "So, when's lunch?" The lead judge staggered to their feet, robes glitching in and out of Renaissance fashion. You're a threat to causality, a walking paradox." Todd blinked. "I thought this was just jury duty?" At this point, one of the floating philosopher brains collapsed into existential dread and looped the phrase, "Everything is sandwich," for 20 minutes. Todd, oblivious to the chaos unraveling around him, turned to the sentient hourglass and asked, "Do you guys validate parking?" The hourglass exploded. That was just chapter 1. You're not ready for what happens when Todd finds the time remote. Stay tuned, or should I say, stay timed. Earthlings gone wild. Aliens fear us, but not for the reasons you think. The courtroom was still twitching. Reality hadn't recovered yet. One corner of the ceiling was still stuck in the year 1845, replaying a dramatic slap duel between two time-traveling opera singers. The floor pulsed gently beneath Todd's feet, humming the Friends theme song in reverse. Somewhere, somehow, Aristotle had become a balloon animal. And Todd? Todd was trying to open a bag of chips. "Do you guys have scissors, or, like, time scissors?" he asked, struggling with the vacuum-sealed package as history itself unraveled around him. The lead judge, still glitching between their present form and a sentient typewriter from the 1920s, wheezed out, "What have you done?" Todd finally tore the bag open. Chips exploded everywhere, and a single crunch echoed like a gunshot through the hall of space-time law. "Oops, my bad." Now let's be clear, this wasn't just chaos. This was chaos that had filled out paperwork, gotten certified, and brought snacks. Because with just one note from a kazoo and the casual arrogance of a guy who once duct-taped his microwave to a skateboard for science, Todd had triggered what time experts called a full reality oopsie. Somewhere on the witness bench, a quantum otter, yes, a witness, and yes, an otter, began vibrating at frequencies known only to bees and dubstep. One of the philosopher judges transformed into a rubber duck and started reciting tax codes from a timeline that didn't exist. And yet, Todd just stood there, hands in pockets, looking confused. "I mean, you guys said don't interfere with time. But technically, I didn't go anywhere," he said, chip crumbs stuck to his shirt. "I just played a sick solo." From the shadows, a trembling lawyer from the Crystalline Empire rose to speak. Their body was made entirely of regret and decorative glass. "Your Honor, this human has committed a Level 9 chrono felony, possibly even a Class F loop violation." Another judge hissed. "Class F? That's the looped meme offense." Todd blinked. "Wait, what does F stand for?" "Fools, farts, fortnight. It changes depending on the timeline," someone whispered in dread. The entire courtroom began recalibrating itself. Furniture turned into interpretive dance. The bailiff, now a sentient slideshow presentation, flashed warning messages in Comic Sans. "Danger, human detected. Please do not feed or encourage." Todd didn't notice. He'd found a spinning chair and was now gently twirling, humming the X-Files theme, absolutely vibing with the horror he had unleashed. That's when the translator orb floated toward him. It had been quiet up to now, but clearly it decided this was too much. "Human," it beeped, trying to remain calm. "Do you understand you have caused over 4,000 microparadoxes in the last 4 minutes? Including but not limited to making Napoleon fluent in Klingon, turning the Renaissance into a bake-off, and erasing the concept of Wednesdays?" Todd paused mid-spin. "No Wednesdays? Nice." A small alien in the gallery let out a wail. "How will we know when to wear pink?" Another ripple shook the room. A judge's bench exploded into confetti. The galaxy's official historian was replaced by a talking sock puppet named Greg, who now insisted gravity was optional. And in the farthest corner of the courtroom, a portal opened for exactly 0.3 seconds and ejected a fax machine screaming in German. The judges panicked. All 12 of them. One tried to contact the Emergency Temporal Tribunal, but only reached a voicemail from future Todd, who was apparently on vacation in the Big Bang. Another attempted to rewind the last hour, only to find out Todd had somehow copyrighted Backwards Time as a brand and was now charging royalties. "We're dealing with a creature that doesn't respect logic, reason, or lunch breaks," whispered one of the philosophers, now perched upside down on a floating sandwich. But even amidst the chaos, the most terrifying moment was yet to come. Because as things continued spiraling, Todd pulled something else from his backpack. A second kazoo. This one, bedazzled. "No," the lead judge gasped, reaching out too late. "No, not the dual wield." Todd raised both kazoos. "You guys want to hear Bohemian Rhapsody in 4D? Time itself whimpered. And that's when it hit the aliens, like a brick made of confusion and maple syrup. He doesn't even know what he's doing. This isn't malicious. This is just Todd. And that made it worse, because it meant there were probably more humans, more Todds, back home on Earth, unaware that every casual dumb decision could unmake entire empires of causality. One alien slowly whispered to herself, "They let these creatures drive cars?" A judge fainted. Another tried to retire and accidentally became their own grandparent. Todd? Todd leaned back, smiled, and said the most dangerous words ever spoken in the history of time. Wait till you meet my cousin Kyle. He invented a time slingshot. Silence. Utter, cosmic silence. And then the alarm. Multiple human signatures detected. Incoming with a slingshot! Everyone screamed. Todd crunched another chip. Man, I love Wednesdays. Nobody had the heart to tell him he'd deleted those 2 kazoos ago. The moment Kyle arrived, everything got worse. Not like a little worse. Not like, oops, spilled coffee on the time machine worse. No, this was existentially worse. This was the universe started vibrating with dread worse. He didn't even land in a spaceship. He slingshotted himself in. Literally. Through time. Holding on to the elastic ends of what appeared to be a repurposed trampoline and shouting, "Yeet!" as he tore through 4 centuries and 2 walls. When the dust cleared, Kyle stood proudly in the middle of the Intergalactic Time Travel Court, wearing neon sunglasses, a tank top that read, "History is for nerds," and a look that said he had no idea where he was, and liked it that way. "Yo, Todd," Kyle beamed. "Dude, is this the brunch dimension?" Todd, mouthful of cosmic pretzels, waved. "Bro, you made it. I told them about the slingshot." The entire court groaned in collective horror. One judge, who had been trying desperately to hold the timeline together with duct tape and quantum chewing gum, simply gave up and began singing sea shanties. Kyle turned to the gallery of aliens, some of whom were actively trying to phase out of existence just to avoid being in the same reality. He squinted. "Wait, are you guys cosplaying? This is sick!" He thinks this is a costume party. The translator Orb muttered, almost too stunned to bleep. One of the glass-bodied lawyers cracked literally and screamed, "Shh, there's 2 of them? This isn't diplomacy. This is temporal terrorism via frat boys." Kyle gave a thumbs up. "Thanks, man." Then he pulled something from his backpack. It wasn't a weapon. It was worse. A box labeled experimental time-based energy drinks. Do not consume near wormholes. Kyle chugged the first can. Immediately he began talking in reverse. Todd nodded in approval. "Yup, that's how we found out time hiccups are a real thing." From the ceiling, a judge shrieked, "Enough! We need to understand what we're dealing with. What are these creatures?" And so they did what any intelligent, desperate, fear-sweating galactic civilization would do. They opened the human archives. They projected Earth's history into the air, holographically. It began innocently enough. Fire, wheels, language, and then came the chaos. Tide Pod challenges. Flat Earthers. Elon Musk memes. Shrek fanfiction. 15 versions of The Fast and the Furious, including one where they race submarines on the moon. One of the judges sobbed openly. Another tried to reset their own personality core. A third started laughing, just laughing, endlessly. It was then the truth hit them. These humans weren't broken. This wasn't a malfunction. This was standard operating procedure. The humans didn't mean to break time. They didn't even know there was a break to avoid. They just did things, constantly, without thinking, without consequence, with kazoos and slingshots and passion and terrifying confidence. "They're not chaotic evil," whispered one elder alien in awe. "They're chaotic." The entire courtroom paused. Time paused. Even Todd paused. And then Kyle belched loud enough to fracture causality again. A new law formed itself from the raw panic in the air. Do not engage humans with open temporal interfaces. Ever. But it was too late, because Todd had wandered over to the Chrono Scroll, the ancient device that held the stable laws of time, and used it as a coaster for his half-melted smoothie. The scroll groaned. Ancient symbols melted off it like cheese under a heat lamp. Laws began to rewrite themselves. Somewhere, Queen Victoria got a reality show. Dinosaurs sued for extinction damages. Albert Einstein grew a mullet in every timeline. And Kyle decided it was a great time to invent time parkour. "I call it time core," he shouted, leaping onto a table, disappearing, then reappearing inside a courtroom painting that now moved and judged people silently. "We need to contain them," the lead judge whispered, frantic, desperate, possibly on the verge of throwing themselves into a wormhole just for peace. "Where?" another cried. "They've breached containment before they even knew containment existed. They don't follow logic, they follow vibes." Todd raised his hand. "Is there like a bathroom? I think I just time looped my kidneys. The silence that followed was not peaceful. It was the silence of 100 minds simultaneously realizing they had misunderstood humanity completely. They thought Earth would bring innovation, discipline, maybe a new brunch dish. Instead, they got Kazoo diplomacy, slingshot science, energy drink enlightenment, and somehow they were winning. One alien trembled, staring at Todd and Kyle, who were now trying to teach the bailiff how to moonwalk across time zones. What are they? Another voice, ancient and quivering, replied, They are the end of rules, the beginning of chaos, the reason why the timeline now has a sense of humor. Kyle popped back out of a time rift, holding a laser pointer and a ferret wearing aviators. Hey, you guys ever see what happens when you give a ferret time powers? Everyone screamed. Again. The ferret had vanished. No one knew where it went, not even Kyle. He just stared at the empty space where it had been, still holding the laser pointer, which now seemed to be aimed directly at the concept of regret. Whoa, Kyle whispered. I think I just invented time-based camouflage. The courtroom, what was left of it, groaned like an ancient being waking up from a hangover. Half the judges had merged with their chairs. One was now a fog that occasionally quoted Shakespeare. Another was stuck speaking only in outdated slang from 2006. Todd was attempting to toast a bagel on the central control orb. He was humming. There was humming in the final moments of reality. A tiny alien assistant sprinted into the room, holding a clipboard that was slowly catching fire and screaming in binary. Emergency update, it shrieked. The timeline has become self-aware. Todd looked up. Wait, like it's watching us now? All eyes turned to the walls. The walls blinked. Then they blushed. The translator orb short-circuited with a dramatic sss and tried to roll under the nearest table, muttering, Nope, not my job anymore. Nope. The lead judge, or what remained of them, now mostly a cloud of stressed energy and courtroom-themed jazz, spoke with trembling particles. We cannot win this. No one argued. They couldn't. Their mouths were now scheduled to open 10 minutes before they thought of anything to say. Time had unraveled so far that verbs were showing up late to sentences. People were being born out of order. Someone in the back turned into their own uncle twice. Todd wiped cream cheese from the control panel. Honestly, this has been super chill. Chill? One of the last remaining lawyers squeaked. Their voice echoed in triplicate, bouncing off the collapsing laws of probability. You've destroyed causality. You invented a ferret deity. You made YOLO a temporal principle. Yeah, Todd said, grinning. But we also brought snacks. Kyle, still spinning slowly in midair due to some gravity error he caused with a bottle of Gatorade, added, And I made a calendar that loops Fridays forever. You're welcome. The Galactic Council couldn't take it anymore. One by one, the representatives of the universe's most intelligent species did the only thing that made sense now. They quit, resigned, logged out, retired. A few dissolved themselves into stardust. One just turned into a plant. Another became a ringtone. The lead judge let out one last sigh that echoed through the ages. We thought they were a species. We were wrong. They are. A force. Kyle gave a little bow mid-spin. Todd took a selfie with a court gavel. The courtroom collapsed, not with an explosion, but a slow boing, like a cartoon spring giving up. Reality folded itself politely and floated away. Then, silence, followed by the soft sound of kazoo music. The humans hadn't noticed the collapse. They were too busy teaching the hourglass how to beatbox. Which, horrifyingly, it could. And that was it. The war for time? There was no war. No battle. Just surrender. Complete and unconditional surrender to vibes. Earth was awarded full custody of time travel. By default, because no one else wanted it anymore. They handed Todd a trophy labeled Temporal Custodian Supreme. He used it to scoop guacamole. Kyle was declared a living temporal hazard and given his own calendar. The ferret reappeared 5 seconds later, glowing, speaking fluent French, and followed by a cult of time monks. No one asked questions. The judges were never seen again. Except for the one who pops up occasionally in motivational posters that say, Don't think too hard, be a Todd. And as the humans floated away in their very slightly stolen galactic time bubble, Todd waved through the window and shouted, Wait, did we just win something? Kyle shrugged. I dunno, man. But I think the kazoo is the key to the multiverse. Todd stared at it, then to the horizon, then back to Kyle. Want to see what happens if we play it underwater? And just like that, they vanished into the time stream, leaving behind a universe that would never, ever be the same again. Somewhere in the echo of space, a final message shimmered into existence. Earthlings gone wild. Aliens fear us, but not for the reasons you think. Roll credits, cue kazoo, fade to chaos.